so next we're going to make a slider. So the slider is going to be created very much the same way as the label. Because we want to manipulate it in other functions, we want to make sure that it sits on the outside. So underneath my view did load on line 20, I'm going to add in my slider. So create an instance of the slider object. Oh, make sure you spell slider correctly. Okay, so I have my slider created, and I'm going to make a function which will create my sliders. This will set all the properties that I need to make my slider look the way I want it to. So very much in the same way that we did with our others. First we define the size and its position. So I'm just going to go down here and click that, save me some typing. This one I'm going to make it go to 50 and 300. I'm going to make the width 200 and make the height 35. Okay, we also need to define the minimum value and the maximum value. So the minimum will be 0 and the maximum will be 1000. Is the slider continuous? Yes, it is. What color do we want it to be? We're going to make it blue. Let's make the initial value set to 500, so let's let it sit in the middle. Okay, and the same way we did with our button, we want to have an action for what happens with this value. My action again, I'm going to do the similar thing with that Objective-C method. So selector, slider actions, this is what our function will be called in a minute. And then it's going to be every time the value is changed. The last thing we need to do is to make sure that our slider is added to our subview. Okay, so I'll make it appear. Again, I'm just going to comment this out because that's going to cause an error and run it. I just want to make sure that my slider is appearing. It's important to run your code all the time just to make sure. Ooh, currently I've got no slider appearing. That's not a good thing. Okay, so let's move on anyway, and it will get improved as we move along. It's probably just the location that I've put it. So I'm going to move that to 0, 0. Okay, so I need to create my slider action again at objc because we're going to do a Objective-C function. It's going to be called slider action. Okay, and inside this slider action, we're going to make it send from a button action. Slider. Oops, sorry. UI button. Cool, and in this, all we're going to do is get the value from the slider, and we're going to display that in the text property of our label. Okay, and let's give this a run. Oops, I forgot the word. Funk. Okay, so again, I'm running it and it's just not appearing. So it's making that same mistake which a lot of you will do. You've made your function, you made your action, and there's no errors, so what's going wrong? Well, I haven't called my function, so I need to make sure I call my create slider, and this will now make it appear. So now I have my slider, it's appearing at the top. And now my label is changing depending on my value.